When you trade in antiques and collectibles, every purchase is a gamble. Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 times the Pawn Stars were screwed over.
I have probably the world's #1 Pokemon collection inside this case.
Little figures?
Cards, and they're all Charizards.
For this list, we're looking at transactions or categories of products where the Pawn Stars got a raw deal. Whether overpaying for an item, getting duped by a fake, or simply paying out a huge profit to the seller, these are the deals that left the Pawn Stars shaking their heads with regret. Number 10. Cubic Zirconia. Everyone calls him the old man, but Richard Harrison's age and experience also make him a wealth of knowledge when it comes to buying and selling valuable goods. Unfortunately for him, acquiring that knowledge sometimes cost him big bucks along the way.
One of the biggest losses I probably ever took in this business is back when CZs first came out. CZ is a cubic zirconia, which is a man-made substitute for a diamond. Nobody knew about them, and they tested as diamonds.
You learn from your mistakes, as they say. And as Richard explains, he got an expensive lesson when cubic zirconia first hit the market in the 1970s. People had hardly heard about these flashy, inexpensive synthetic rocks at the time, let alone learned how to distinguish them from actual diamonds.
I lost close to $25,000–30,000 on that, but it was a lesson learned.
Harrison claims he lost nearly $30,000 in mistaken purchases, which was even more money at the time. Thankfully, the Pawn Stars now know how to spot a cubic zirconia.
When you're looking at a CZ or a fake diamond, they're too perfect. This is what's called a cubic zirconia. It's made to look like a perfect diamond. There are very, very few perfect diamonds out there.
Number 9. Fake Rolexes. Like his grandfather before him, Corey Harrison had to learn some tough lessons of his own when he joined the family business.
When I first started working the night shift, I didn't have that much experience here. And being the typical 18-year-old kid, I thought I knew everything. And it must have got around town pretty quick because I bought 6 fake Rolexes in 1 week.
As he explains in the same segment as the previous entry, he started working the night shift when he was just 18 years old. Armed with his youthful self-confidence, Corey managed to buy up not 1, not 2, but 6 fake Rolexes in a week. He suspects that after he bought the first fake, word got around that he was easy to dupe.
The thing about a Rolex is, there's nothing wrong with it. Everything is made perfectly, period. There will not be a messed up hand, there will not be a messed up dial, there will not be a smudged serial number. Everything is right. If it isn't right, when it comes off the assembly line, they throw it away.
In total, he spent about $4,000 on the watches, which in reality were essentially worth nothing. As his father Rick explains it, there are actually a number of ways to spot a fake Rolex. You just need to know what you're looking for.
You see the green tint coming around there? That looks pretty good, right?
Yeah.
To the untrained eye, that looks really good, the little bit of green right there.
Yeah.
But to someone who knows what they're looking for, this comes in 2 versions. It comes in green or clear.
Yeah.
And this is a sapphire crystal right here. So it comes with a green sapphire crystal or a clear sapphire crystal.
Gotcha.
It doesn't come with a little bit of green on the outside like that.
Number 8. Vic Flick's guitar. In this Season 8 episode, Rick is approached by studio musician Vic Flick.
Oh, this is your guitar?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a 1961 Fender Stratocaster.
That's a big wow factor right there.
The English guitarist certainly has an impressive resume, having worked with everyone from Engelbert Humperdinck and Tom Jones to Paul McCartney, Eric Clapton, and Jimmy Page. He even played guitar on numerous soundtracks for various James Bond films.
I worked on films. I worked on Goldfinger, James Bond. Actually played the James Bond theme, which...
You played the James Bond theme?
Yes.
Rick ultimately drops $55,000 on the storied instrument on offer. Unfortunately, while the songs this guitar appeared on are certainly impressive, the fact doesn't necessarily add that much value to the guitar itself. When the guitar went to auction in 2014, it only sold for $25,000. Ouch. Vic Flick might be a legend among rock aficionados, but his name seemingly doesn't carry the same weight as that of his rock star collaborators.
I was surprised. I thought he was going to go down in the 30s or something like that. I knew he'd probably go for 55, and I'm happy. Now I've got the money in my back pocket, I think the wife and I will just pop out for a beer or two and celebrate the occasion.
Number 7. 1964 Austin Healey Sprite BRG.
This is it, 1964 Austin Healey.
Damn, the thing looks like a Hot Wheels. So does it run?
Drove down here.
Looks can be deceiving. While this 1964 automobile undeniably has curb appeal, this episode serves as a reminder that you should never buy a car without test driving it first. In his defense, Rick does attempt to start the car, but when the engine fails to turn over, the owner dismisses it as a minor mechanical issue, a dead battery. And Rick takes him at his word. Big mistake.
Drove down here and battery might have went dead.
We got nothing. This guy said he drove this car down here, and obviously I believe him because he didn't bring it down here on his back.
We get that Rick saw it as an opportunity to get the Sprite at a better price. The right collector is likely willing to pay top dollar for it. Unfortunately, the gamble doesn't pay off. In the end, Rick's mechanic quotes him thousands in repairs to get the car roadworthy.
Unfortunately, I've got some bad news for you, Rick.
What's wrong with it?
It has spun main bearings, it's rattling. You see that right there? That's a crankshaft. The journals on it are the round sections. Those are completely galded and scored.
As soon as he said crankshaft, I got a bad feeling.
Number 6. Grandpa Cyclops art print.
What do we have here?
We have Grandpa Cyclops.
That is weird. I'm assuming he's not related to you.
Just look at this thing. We can totally understand why Rick wanted it. Mirror image symmetrical portraits such as this might be as simple as clicking a button on your phone today, but the vintage style and manner of production of this print add a certain novelty factor. More importantly, it was made by an artist with name recognition. Devo founder and singer Mark Mothersbaugh.
It's a limited edition print by Mark Mothersbaugh.
Devo?
Devo.
We are Devo, D-E-V-O?
Yeah, they had the little hat.
After calling in an art expert, Rick goes ahead and drops $625 on the framed print. According to his consultant, that should leave him room to make anywhere between $175 to $375 in profit. Little does he know, the seller is the one who walked away with the real victory. As she later reveals, the artwork only cost her $15.
Okay, this is great. I'll meet you right over there. We'll do some paperwork, and I'll get you paid.
Okay, great. I actually paid $15 for it.
Number 5. Shoeless Joe Jackson fake. Joseph Jefferson Jackson is one of the most iconic baseball players to ever set foot on the field.
I have a book signed by Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Oh, it's actually signed by him.
Right.
This is absolutely incredible.
Not only was his performance in the outfield the stuff of legend, but due to his involvement with the Black Sox scandal of 1919, his name has an element of infamy to it as well. And as Rick tells the seller, because Shoeless Joe was illiterate, his signature is arguably the single rarest in not just baseball, but all of sports.
Do you know how rare it is to find his signature?
No, not at all.
It's the rarest sports signature, period.
Unfortunately, Rick doesn't bother to bring in an expert to verify the signature, instead trusting the certificate of authenticity provided by the seller. He pays a whopping $13,000 for the signed book, only to later learn it's almost certainly a fake.
13 grand is a lot of money, but a once-in-a-lifetime piece like this, I think it's definitely worth the gamble.
Number 4. Wells Fargo Strongbox. You'd think that Rick would have known better than to buy that Joe Jackson book without getting it authenticated, but just one season earlier, he'd made a very similar mistake.
Well, we got a Wells Fargo Strongbox and some antique ball and chain.
Okay, you do have a ball and chain and a few old handcuffs.
I've had a ball and chain for 50-some years, son.
In the season 5 episode Corey's Big Play, a seller comes in with a Wells Fargo Strongbox and some old prison chains.
Pretty notorious prison, same with Yuma.
They had all the bad guys. They were not a nice place to be, but if you went to jail, that's where you went. They didn't have that many back then.
Rick starts off strong by identifying that both the Yuma ball and chain and Folsom Prison handcuffs are fake. Apart from being guilty by association with its fake contents, however, the lockbox doesn't raise any immediate red flags. So Rick goes ahead and pays the guy $450 for it. He should have trusted his first instinct. When Rick has an expert in to appraise it, he's told that it's a, quote, complete fantasy piece.
So, first things first. Have you already bought this?
That sounds bad. I've already bought it.
I don't have good news for you. This is a complete fantasy piece. It's a complete fake.
Number 3. Underground Railroad sketches. Talk about a fascinating and important piece of history.
Underground Railroad Sketches by E.M. Petite.
So a bunch of little short stories by the slaves that actually used the Underground Railroad.
That's pretty cool. You know, I have an employee who would actually think this was about subways.
In Underground Pawn, a seller comes in with a collection of true stories about the Underground Railroad that was made in the late 19th century. Not only is it authentic, it's even signed by the editor of the newspaper who commissioned the book to be written. This is all music to the ears of the seller and Rick alike. This is a documentary record of the Underground Railroad, printed in a relatively small batch, and all things considered, it isn't in bad shape.
The big question, what's it worth?
I think it would be completely fair to price it around $12.50.
Can I give you $500?
The two men settle on a price of $700 and both walk away happy, but the seller especially so. Turns out he only spent $2 on the book. Nice payout.
You know, $700 sounds good. I only paid $2 for it.
All right, good for you. Let's go up front. I'll write you up.
Number 2, Willie Mays uniform. Right off the bat, you can see Corey is hungry to make this purchase.
Hey, I got a 61 Willie Mays uniform. I got this jersey with the matching pants underneath.
You're bringing me in something here that's amazing. The home runs this guy could have hit in this uniform, the bases he stole, game-winning catches, all kinds of stuff.
Which I'm sure he did in this uniform.
His enthusiasm for this San Francisco Giants uniform, supposedly worn by Willie Mays, blinds him to some fairly obvious red flags. The uniform has no signs of wear and tear, nor has it been authenticated. Thankfully, Corey has the sense to call in an expert who, surprisingly, deems it authentic, just not game-worn.
One thing I'm just not seeing is any damage to it. This thing appears to be in immaculate condition, especially for its age, which leads me to believe that it's game issued versus game used.
Isn't it conceivable that, Willie didn't slide during 1 or 2 games?
That's all very possible. But to truly identify it as a game-used jersey, we would need to see a lot more evidence of wear on it.
They settle on $31,000 and the seller leaves happy, only for Corey to lose over a third of his investment at auction.
Can you meet me at 33?
$31,000, call it a day.
Sounds good.
All right.
But Corey should still consider himself lucky. It was later revealed that Mays never even owned the jersey. It was just a sample, lowering its real value to only a few $1,000s. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, various auction losses. When the Pawn Stars can't flip an item in a reasonable amount of time, it gets sent to auction.
This trip is all about making money, so what better place to do it than Hollywood?
This is what happened with Vic Flick's aforementioned guitar, but it wasn't the only item that failed to turn a profit.
Any other bids going once at $22,500. Going twice. Selling then at $20,000.
I'm just getting really killed on the big items that I was hoping to get $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 for. They're just not bringing the money.
As seen in the special 2-part episode Rick's Roulette, Rick loses a small fortune when he takes an assortment of big-ticket items to the auction house, including a first edition of A Christmas Carol and a 1960s Spacelander bicycle. There's even a loss of approximately $29,000 on a single motorcycle. Even after subtracting the guitar and motorcycle, other assorted items collectively lost him lots of money.
Sold. Congratulations, $11,000.
You've sold most of my items. I'm getting my ass handed to me. It doesn't feel good.
Well, can't win them all. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.